And good afternoon. It is Wednesday, March 26th, just a little bit after 1:30 p.m. And we are joined, as we are every month, on this Wednesday of each month. See, now I'm all thrown off. On the last Wednesday of each month at 1:30, Newport School Superintendent Colleen Jermain joins us, as well as Frank Prosnitz. Frank, how are you?
I'm fine. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm going to bring the superintendent right up so to make sure that we are fully operational, because she is in a new location. She is in a hidden location today, Frank.
Oh, she's right by the bridge.
Yeah, I'm by the bridge. I made sure the bridge came with me.
I'm going to assume that this there might be some movement happening due to construction at Rogers, or is just you have a new background today?
I just have a new background today. There's a lot of things happening, and meetings keep blending into other meetings. And instead of sending 8 people out of the room, I grabbed my laptop and ran to another room. So here I am.
Live from the custodian closet.
You are almost exactly correct.
So I was wondering if a kid shows up a minute late to class, are they considered tardy?
Yes, but I know. My apologies to everyone.
Only kidding, only joking.
The superintendent has been doing these conversations with us for 2-3 years, and we finally have something out over our head right now. So I'm going to let Frank take this away to get to the matters of the day.
Yeah, I think I should be congratulated for my creativity and flexibility of being able to relocate in a moment's notice.
Outstanding. So how are things going? School's still operating?
Everything's operating. Everything's busy. Let's see. Today, we just wrapping up a building meeting where we're really putting down hard dates for moves, packing, just coordinating the sequencing. That's really, really important. We had another building tour on Wednesdays. We go through no matter what. At 9:00, we were all over the building today. We had some students. It was wonderful. It's just so exciting to hear them when they walk into the gym or something. They go, "Oh, wow." And I got to record it sometime, just what they say. Their expressions are priceless, with them looking up and looking at all the glass. And actually one student said, "We're going to be going to school in here." And it's like, this is where you're going to school next year. And it just makes all those nights and many, many hours worthwhile.
And that was a 23-year-old dude. Oh no, I'm not kidding. So everything is on time?
Everything's on time. We're still on time. June 6th, a big day, Friday. The keys are still planned to be handed over to us on that day. So we take official ownership of the building. And then that's when we really, for the planning meeting and what's going on as I'm in this other location, we're securing down dates, moves, number of boxes, all those, fine details you have to get into shape to make sure you have a smooth transitioning when you go from one location to the other.
Am I right to assume that there will be certain time set aside for orientation to the new building for staff and for students?
Well, definitely for staff. And as a matter of fact, we're in the middle of those discussions right now. Ideally, we would thank you. Oh my gosh, only 72 days. Now I'm even more nervous. Yes, definitely for staff. We're trying to take a look at what dates. There's a little bit of flexibility in their schedules. We do have some planned mandatory meetings after school for the Rogers group that we're going to give them time to finish up, to do some packing, getting their whatever they're going to be transferring in order. And then hopefully the last day of school, off the top of my head, is June. It's in the 20s, but we'll have a couple of days over here on the campus during makeup time for final exams, etc. That will also allow the staff to go in and do a little bit more prepping for the opening. We still have to have, Frank, to your question, we need to firm up some dates, and we need to speak to the teachers on what they think would be best. Our ribbon cutting date has been set for Friday, August 22nd at 10 a.m. So we're very excited about that. August 22nd, 10 a.m. And we're just, there's a lot going on along with everything else that's happening in our school district. So we're excited.
Automotive and cosmetology also on track?
They're on track. David Halal, our facilities director, he's already been on the move. We're, I'll say, spicing up that building, doing fresh paint jobs, renovating, remodeling the rooms therein. So when school starts in September, our cosmetology and automotive students will have new digs that might be in the same building, but we're trying to make sure their rooms are just as inviting and special as the actual new Rogers High School building. So we're excited about that.
We're still on track where we've ever ended up with no additional costs. We are pretty much on track with the project.
Fingers crossed, yes. The digging, so for the audience that may not have known that originally part of the program, we were going to knock down the NACTAC building that houses most of our CTE programs right now. We are keeping that building now because due to value engineering and budget concerns, we had to eliminate 2 spaces, and those 2 spaces were cosmetology and automotive. During the year, we did get a plan B for our automotive, and we were really struggling to get a firm plan for cosmetology. The new school committee, newly elected school committee, as a matter of fact, Dr. Robert Power ran on the agenda of we've got to keep the building to keep those 2 programs on campus with all the other students. And the rest of the committee agreed with him. So they changed course. We received some cost estimates from Gilbane. The plans have been changed. We will be going, the sanitary water will be going around the back of the NACTAC building. And the amount of money we were going to spend knocking down the building and whatnot will be redirected towards those that utility work that will be needed to be done. So tonight at the council meeting, as some may be aware, the city has also hired their own I'll say firm, VHB, to test the soil, identify where the former landfill was. So tonight, they're going to just share some more scope of work that they're going to be doing, which is near where we're going to be doing our utility work. So we're going to be there tonight, too, to help in answering any questions. But we've got a plan in place. The costs are hopefully going to stay within the money we're saving from not knocking down the NACTAC building. And by September, we hope to have new, I'll say, facilities and a building for all our students.
So cosmetology and automotive are very important programs, clearly.
Yes.
Are we seeing a growth in the number of students that are looking to go those kinds of routes, not necessarily just cosmetology and automotive, but other programs that might be like a school to work program or a technical program, rather than maybe even a little reduction in the number of kids looking for 4-year schools?
The answer is yes. We are seeing more interest in CTE and career technical education. They call it CTE, career technical education. And we're actually seeing a desire to start at a younger age and look at alternative programming that may include more, I'll say, STEM, either science, technology, engineering. So we're looking at some of that programming. Right now at Thompson, we did pilot a program, a STEM program for grades 5 and 6. And it's it's under the umbrella of Project Lead the Way. Now, Newport doesn't endorse necessarily that's not really, as I'd like to say, if Director Young were here, he'd be saying it better than me. It's more hands-on or in the field type of program, but it does teach a lot of the very basics of what students need to know for thinking, planning, being strategic about approaches, thinking outside the box on how to solve problems in that STEM class. And I was lucky enough last week in Mr. Bolano's class to see the Monday lesson and then go back on Friday to see what the students came up with as they created their own basketball courts with only a certain amount of materials. I think they had tape, marker, and cardboard paper. So that was very interesting. So it's kind of like they have to plot out, map out, think ahead. That's the STEM. So we have just received a grant from RIDE, and now Director Young, working with Dr. Browner at Thompson, we're now moving towards grades 7 and 8. And we want to put in a little bit of a higher level STEM type program. And we're looking into different avenues of what we'd like that course to actually look like for next year. The whole thinking behind all of that is because we already know, we're hearing from our students that, and we know from the research and discussions and just when you walk into a fully engaged classroom, that the more the students can take ownership of their learning and the more they can participate in what they're learning, they retain it much better. We've shared with you, and I've shared with you before, that we also notice in our graduation rates that if you take just the children that are in our CTE programs versus the entire population of Rogers High School, we have about a 94 to 95% graduation rate within 4 years, whereas the whole campus is around 85%. So there's a lot to be said, but we also need to remember it is so important for those advanced math classes, those English classes, learning how to use the language well, how to structure our thoughts and communication with others requires that kind of learning in addition to hands-on. And then we have our history, our social studies, our sciences, the science labs in the new place, unbelievable. The kids couldn't even believe it. The lab tables can actually rise and fall according to the height of the students. So the different ages that are in there. And we do have wings, a 9th grade wing for science. We do have the upper end for the physics and the other classes. In our art rooms, the kiln room, huge art. And we purposely put it on the southern side of the new building where you see a lot of the curtain wall and the glass so that a lot of natural light comes in for our future and budding artists to use those rooms for those purposes. Ryan.
Ryan, did you have a question or?
I just, I want to help out my friend Kathy Nash, who had emailed me earlier this week. And I just want to make sure that at some point you guys bring up report cards when they're coming out, as well as there's some days that parents should know that students are going to be off in case they're out there getting. So,
okay. All right. We have parent conferences next Monday night, no school, 12 to 5 parent conferences. So yes, that is a day. All the children have off Monday, March 31st for parent conferences.
Report cards coming up.
Report cards are out. What is going on right now? We have school report card nights, which last week Dr. Browner held his school report card night. And I think it's better to call it a school accountability night, where the school shares what they're doing well and the areas they need to improve. Dr. Browner did his last week. Principal Vance did his last night. Rogers had theirs last night, and we had a good attendance there. And then tomorrow night, we have Pell Elementary School will have its school report card accountability night, where Pell will share out their areas of strength and the areas we need to improve. And in all 3 schools, I think it's very, very important. Our community, our families, our parents know the 2 areas we really need to improve are student growth and achievement and attendance, and they go hand in hand. If you look at the data from the students that aren't in school on a regular basis versus those that are, there's a huge discrepancy as far as students score here and the others score much higher. And then you also look at, and you think about, if children are not in school, then they're not going to be able to do the grade level work that we put in front of them, and they won't be successful on their RICAS. So the RICAS testing is coming up. Our teachers are working very hard, and I want to applaud last night at the Rogers one. So you have the ability in a lot of these categories to earn points. And for Rogers High School, the teachers, they earn the full amount of points teachers could earn for being at school in attendance on a regular basis. So our teachers are here, everyone. We need our students in school. So that, go ahead.
How are we doing with attendance? Are we improving? Is it, I was looking at the latest statistics. I think I'm a little confused by it, but it appeared to me that attendance was actually going down at Rogers.
No, attendance is improving at Rogers. Okay. What's happening is it's still very high, and we're still in the bottom percentile statewide as far as attendance at the high school. But we've improved since a year ago. It's getting better, but it still needs a lot of work.
The state report card, if you will, help me understand that a little bit, because it's interesting. I had a conversation with two counselors from Westerly who have little or no understanding. They take a look at a number, but the number doesn't tell me much, because it's all based upon the demographics of a community, and really has to be measured. If you want to measure it, you measure it to like communities, and I think rather than I wouldn't measure Newport to Barrington.
No. So all right. So there are two scores. One is you have student achievement. So if it's in grade 3, there's really no growth factor, because that's the first year of testing. So when students take the test when they're in grade 3 and they get the results back at the beginning of grade 4, there'll be an achievement score. Now, when those same students a year later are in grade 4, they're now going to take the test again, the RICAS. And when they move on to grade 5, when they get there in the fall, they're going to get 2 scores. One is going to be their overall achievement compared to like schools and students that scored the same last year. And that is what's going to determine the growth. Now, Patty All, my director, might be saying, no, you're saying it wrong. She's really the one that needs to explain this. But that's my simple way of trying to explain. So you have an achievement score, and a child can have a high achievement level, but may have very little growth. And that's a little red flag right there. Because if your child doesn't have a lot of growth, you need to start saying to yourself, well, what's going on? Is my child being challenged enough? Is there something else going on that my child can do even better if some factors? Are they not in school a lot? Are they just naturally, they know certain things, and others they don't need to learn to do well on the test? So those are the things you have to kind of take into consideration. The growth factor, so you can be a child that did not do well on the achievement, like RICAS, meet or exceed, but at the same time has a lot of growth. They were here, and now they've moved all the way here over on the scale, but they haven't quite hit the grade level standard they should be at, but they could still have a lot of growth. Is that somewhat clear?
Sort of. I mean, the whole process is not particularly clear, and I just think in a lot of ways it's unfair, some unfair measurement from community to community.
definitely. You can't, well, on Aquidneck Island, just if you take the island as a comparison, where, from when you start on the southern part of the island in Newport, cross Middletown, and you go to Portsmouth, you can, just looking at our demographics, you can start to see the shift a little. Although I think the lines are starting to blur a lot between Newport and Middletown as far as demographics, because Newport really doesn't have a lot of housing for our families. And I'm sure Middletown's seeing some kind of shift in their student population. And then you go out to Portsmouth, and then there's even a bigger difference, I'll just say. Although our career and tech school, NACTAC, children from all of those communities come to our programming. So we're a little unique in that way, from Little Compton, Tiverton, Portsmouth, Middletown. We even have Bristol Warren, and we have across the bay, I think we have North Kingston and students in our school over here on the campus.
I wanted to switch gears just a little bit and find out where we're at with the budget.
I think that says it all. We still have a gap. We're trying really hard. I had the leadership team in yesterday, kind of because in April, for our April meeting, we are presenting a draft budget to our school committee. And we are struggling. We have right now, I'd say, a 1.9, still have a 1.9 gap, even though with our community partners, $1.9 million gap. And we have had to go to some of our partners, community partners, which are very, very important to us. And we've had to reduce some of our allocations that we work with them to help us with after school programs and summer programs. So it's not done. And the sad part about it is the way we are financed, not just Newport, the entire public school system, is we don't find out till probably May or June, May if we're lucky, June most likely, what kind of funding we're going to have. That comes up against the June 1 layoff for teachers. So if I have to, which I will, have to lay off teachers, I have to plan from what I know and be cautious about making sure we can cover whatever staffing we retain by June 1. So it's a balancing act. Then what happens in June, if we get a little boon and more than we think, as many know, then we will call back some teachers. But right now, it's still very challenging, and we have not come to a balancing of that budget yet.
You look at things today. Do you have any guesstimate on how many teachers might receive layoff notices?
Not at this time. I know at least 1 to 3 I'll have to lay off, because we're really trying, and we have been working, with our teachers, with our finance people. We're really trying to see, with all the different programming we're going to need, where are we going to be able to place people? We're also looking at teachers that are retiring, and we're not filling, through attrition, we're not filling those positions. We already know that.
Are we having more teachers who are looking to retire now because of all kinds of things that are happening that make it more difficult than might have earlier or before?
Frank, I'm actually surprised we don't have more teachers retiring, but at this point in time, no. It's not atypical at this point in time, because Newport does have the highest retention rate of teachers. So our teachers, quite a few of our teachers have been in our district for a very, very long time. And I am surprised, but I also understand the challenges, because I think they call it the golden rule of 95. So in order for a teacher to receive full benefits or whatever it is when they go to retire, they, between their service time and their age, they need to hit that 95. So how old they are, how many years in service, and do they hit 95? And then they can retire, my understanding is, with full benefits. Now, there are other ways teachers can retire based just solely on age and, how much they want in a pension. It also has to do with their CBAs. Some CBAs cover insurance till a teacher, even let's say a teacher retired and left a system when they were able to leave when they were 58 or 59. Some CBAs will carry them on their health plan until they're age 65 with a contribution if the teacher so opts for that. In other places, it might be they have 2 years of health care, or in some, they may have none. So it varies. In Newport, we have if they retire before the age of 65, we cover them with a contribution from the teacher. So CBAs play into it. That number 95 plays into it. I do know last year there was a bill that was submitted and discussions with one of the unions that they were trying to reduce that number to 90. And so that might encourage some to retire sooner. I don't know with the numbers at the state level if the pension system could handle that or not, but I do know that is still in discussion. I'll just say that. The magic number they're thinking of changing to 90. I know they've also already changed the retirement rules as far as it was originally. It was your 3 years of highest salary is what determines the amount of what you're going to get for your pension. That was extended and changed. I think that was around Raimondo's time to 5 years. Now it's back to 3 years. And I just found that out recently. Someone said, in a meeting, I was in a meeting, I'm on a ledge committee. I didn't even know they had changed it, but now it's your 3 highest salary years play into your pension allocation.
When we take a look at the budget and funding, and we take a look at the chaos that's going on in Washington, how much do you rely upon federal funds in the school system?
Newport does get a substantial amount of funding from federal funds in 2 areas, in IDEA, which is special ed, and Title I. And Title I, for the audience, is tied into poverty. It's the poverty level of your school building, the school area. Those are the 2 that would really concern me. Now, I guess it depends upon what you read or who you read. I've heard that IDEA and Title I will not be impacted or affected with these changes, but the news changes every day. So just like having to move to a new location at the 11th hour for this interview, we just have to be flexible and be ready to make adjustments if we need to.
I talked to a number of other superintendents, Stonington, Westerly, Charahoe, and it's that uncertainty is pretty difficult as you try to cobble together a budget without really any sense of what's going to happen with those federal funds. And then how do you take care of the kids who might be impacted by that? Right.
And for us in Newport, they're our most vulnerable children from IDEA and Title I. And I'm just going to say that's what we do every day. That's our role. That's what we have to figure out. And working together with, fortunately here with community partners in Newport, we try our best to piece it all together so it works most importantly for the students and their families.
So we had our little kerfuffle with the union going back. How are things now in terms of the teachers, the union, and the administration?
We're working together. We have regular meetings now, which I'm so happy about. And we're sitting down to the table. You're going to hear me say, I want to thank Alex Lucchini. Alex and I work together in Providence side by side. And Alex is really helping with our local here. You know, he's the nuts and bolts. And the rest of the TAN leadership, the local leadership, we're all coming to the table. We try every 2 weeks, and we're trying to stay on top of everything as far as the day-to-day activities. But we're also getting ready for, you know, as part of the settlement agreement, making sure that when the job placement program comes up, everything runs smoothly, everyone's on the same page. So if there are differences of opinion, we make sure we're settling those well in advance. So it's going along nicely right now.
So I know you said that you're likely going to have to send out certain layoff notices.
Yeah.
Going forward in terms of staffing, are you concerned that there are not enough people who are looking to come into the teaching profession now, that through a number of things that have gone on, we have persuaded people to find other lines of work?
I think about that. I'm not concerned about it. I think about it. I do believe we've been fortunate here in Newport to have enough applicants and have a staff that can fill the most of our needs at this point in time. I don't know about the future. And what I mean by the future, Frank, is like 5 years from now where we're going to be, because I do not see, or at least hear about, a lot of young people coming out of school, going into education right away. So those are the things I think about. Yeah. That's about as far as I go about worrying about placement. We still have challenging areas, don't get me wrong. Math is still a challenge. You know, I think if you want a guaranteed job, get a math degree. Science, ML certification, no matter where you want to go, that's going to help you. Special ed is still an area that we need people with specific skill sets in order to work with our children, and the important federal rules and regulations we must follow in order to make sure we're doing our due diligence from a school district perspective.
And so I guess I have one last question as we move on with time. Any more on any merger discussions with Newport and Middletown?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We had the Middletown superintendent and I attended a meeting, I think it was about a week ago. And as a matter of fact, in my newsletter, I'm mentioning that to everyone today when it goes out later today. I was doing a fact check on my part to make sure I was doing that correctly. Yes. So the answer is yes. We are looking into it, and the Middletown superintendent and I, Billy Niemeyer, which I hope I'm saying his name right, Niemeyer. He's great. And the two of us were actually tasked to go away and, think about the educational benefits and what things could we be doing if we were together. We're also, so the financial piece is easy. And as I shared, that the most important thing, I think, is for this to be successful, we need to be very clear with the public on what is, what we're thinking, what the plan is. And we've got to have a plan, a 3 to 5 year plan, so that everyone in both communities knows what's going to happen if the voters decide to finally do this. The financial boon, and I will call it a boon, for both districts in their construction projects to go up to 80% reimbursement, if not a little bit more, will help both communities as far as financial obligations they have and in paying back the bond. That will free up, hopefully, some funding. And ideally, I'd like to say, I hope that goes towards education. Some more than what we get right now. But I also understand cities and towns have other obligations. But as an educator, I would promote that. The other thing about it in transportation, we get a funding plus bonus for transportation costs, which are huge for both districts. We also will be able to look at both systems as far as resources we can share immediately and map out a plan going forward for our little ones, especially in the foundations, PK through 2 for both of our communities. We have high, and as I said, Newport has a high ML population. Middletown's is growing. If we can get together and do something for our PK through 2 and make sure they have those foundational skills, really build them up. And that's something possible. The other thing we can look into is, as far as our CTE programming, looking at what other options could we offer our students if we came together. At the end of the day, Frank, I do believe Rogers High School will be open September of 2025. Middletown will be breaking ground. We're going to have unbelievable, fantastic facilities for our students in both communities. But what happens in the classroom is the most important thing. And I think that plan and what we would like to do, we need to share out. The other thing is you need funding in order to make some things happen. So finances do play a role in it. The first thing that we've been told, if it passes, and that would happen in the 26-27 school year, is that the administration, the district administration would collapse and become one administration, which I believe is perfectly fine, perfectly doable. We have some very bright, talented people that know both communities that could do well. And I might be, and, my contract goes through 2026. So whatever happens, happens. But what the most important thing is, and Billy's great, he's a superintendent, what we can do for our children and for the community, I think is even more powerful if we map it out. Then say in the next year, this is what's going to happen. And then next year, at least get a 3 to 5 year plan on the table for our community.
When would you see the soonest that a referendum could be held would be this fall?
September or October. There has to be a special election. We have to go to the General Assembly now, this spring, 2025, get something approved for the ballot for both communities. And then in September or October, whomever makes those decisions, you would then have a vote go before the citizens. This most likely will be the last time in a long time that this opportunity will come before us. So this is, I think this is it.
Yeah. So it's hard to say in a sentence, but in a couple, if I'm sitting out there and I have no kids in the school system, I live on East Whoopahoopi Lane, I really don't give much thought to the school system. Why should I care?
Because as a taxpayer, your community is not going to be in the same financial situation, getting a 52% reimbursement versus an 80% reimbursement. It's all the dollars and cents.
Is that reimbursement, is that based on new funding, or is it based on the funding that's there now for both Rogers and for Middletown?
That reimbursement is based upon the bond that was approved by each community.
Right, but I'm thinking time-wise, right? So the bonds are approved.
Right.
Are they stuck at the 52% level, or if in fact a merger happens, do they automatically become an 80% reimbursement?
They become an 80%, and for the citizens of Newport and the people of Newport, this is our last opportunity because we need to tie everything up in a bow by December of 2025.
I could go on and on with this, but we've come a long way.
Tying up in a bow.
I know we've come a long way with that conversation.
We can. Happy to come back and chat more about it.
Well, we'll keep tabs on it because I think this is very exciting, actually.
Frank, I just want to let you know the 95, that whole math thing doesn't work around here.
No magic rule of 95.
No, man. I like it. I've never heard. Just one. Is that you guys have both dealt with unions? Is that a union thing? I mean, is that normally a firefighter? Yeah. Okay.
It's a pension thing, at least for
But
teachers.
it's not outside of teachers union. That's a teachers union thing.
That's a
So
teachers.
Not for anybody else.
I'll have to talk to my boss to see if I can build it into my pension.
Yeah, well, where's your boss these days?
All right.
Anything else you'd
I
like
do
to
have
add?
some announcements.
Please do.
All right,
ahead.
tomorrow night, the school accountability, Pell, 5:30, be at Pell, 5:30 tomorrow night. Principal Westman has a great slide deck to share and to talk to everyone about Pell School. Our parent advisory committee, and actually I had a little meeting with them today because these are the groups of people that I go to and ask them from a parent's perspective what they're interested in. Thursday, April 3rd, 9:30 at CCRI. We have a Zoom too. We have a link. So for those that work or can't make that or get over there for 9:30, it's only about an hour at the most. We'll have that available. Our next school committee meeting is Tuesday, April 8th. And then the big date, April 24th, budget workshop with the city council. That is what's going on. Spring sports is starting. Those that run track, the softball teams are getting together. Lacrosse is out there on the field, and we're very excited. March is about to end. Parent conferences next Monday, and we start fast tracking into April. So I'm done.
Just a couple things going on.
Yeah.
Just a few.
Colleen, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to try to get into my office now.
Good luck. That is Superintendent Colleen Jermain. We appreciate her joining us each and every last Wednesday of the month. She puts in some extra time with us, and we appreciate it. So if you have a question for the superintendent, you could always send them our way, and we'll try to get them answered for you.
My big takeaway was what happened in the last few minutes. We had talked about that there was some merger stuff. We hadn't. Last time we spoke, the superintendents were not, or supposedly were not, involved in the conversation. Now it sounds like it's gone a great distance now that the superintendents are involved, and even taking a look at a potential fall election referendum on merger.
I think some of that may be forced. There were conversations happening in Newport City Council came out with a resolution saying that we need to do this a little bit more formal, and we need to stop any conversations that are having behind the scene, and let's have formal committees if we're going to have discussions. So that might be why the superintendent felt more at ease talking about it, is because it's been a little bit more solidified.
It's interesting to see what happens.
Excellent. All right, Frank. Well, I appreciate it. I will talk to you soon.
Very good. Thank you.
On behalf of Frank Prosnitz and myself, we want to thank Newport School Superintendent Colleen Jermain for joining us today. If you missed any portion of this program, want to watch it again, want to share it, want to listen to it, want to read about it, all available shortly on whatsupnuke.com. Thanks for watching.